All right, hard yarners and entrepreneurs, investors, anyone who's listening,
And people like beer.
and just average punters.
Yeah. First, big shout out to Kelly. She's just joined the Patreon.
Yes.
So thank you. After we had a chat Sunday night, she had some really nice things to say about the potty.
Yes.
Helped her through some
Loves
anxiety attacks, which I was going to talk about today, actually. So I'll save that for the next
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
But yeah, really, really awesome to hear that we're helping people out. And she's shown her support by jumping on the Patreon, which we still haven't explained properly. People still don't know what it is.
Well, basically, just very broadly, you're supporting us to help us create more content, and then you get a few benefits out of it.
Yep. So $5, $10 or $20 a month. So cheers, Kels, for jumping on board, and all the other Patreons and Patreons for helping us out. But we are here with my boss, apparently. We're here with Simeon Rae. What do we talk about in today's episode?
Mostly crypto.
Yep.
Bit of investing, some macro stuff.
NFT.
Some food poisoning.
Yep.
Someone else, yeah.
Yeah.
Even government overreach and everything. So there's a bit of everything in this. And for the average punter, for people who do know what they're talking about. And it's just a cool listen, I reckon.
Yeah, it's just really good, racking the brains and a whole different world.
It's great when
whole new world.
it's great when me and you know fuck all about it, so we can just ask the questions that everyone else wants to know anyway.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Thanks for it, and let's get hard.
Let's get hard.
They fucking banned me. They said it was promotional purposes only.
Oh, you should be into like stocks and crypto. The way that you're like figuring out those plans.
Yeah.
Pretty, complex.
Well, it's weird because I enjoy watching the footy. I don't enjoy watching stocks and shares. And
Oh, it takes away everything.
yeah,
I've said this before on the podcast before, but I was invested in Bitcoin when my wife was giving birth, and at times I was checking Bitcoin
during actual
during. Well, it was
During the
it's a
birthing
long
process?
it's a long process, but
Is
like
it?
I just
9
remember
months.
Yeah, I just remember being there. She's in labour, and there's half an hour between contractions, and I'm checking Bitcoin and stuff, and I'm like, I shouldn't be that into this right now. I shouldn't be that distracted. So I was like, I felt like I had to be constantly watching it. So as soon as I did that, I got out of it. Made a good profit though, pretty quickly.
Great.
In the boom.
Yeah,
It's good timing because Sim's going to have his baby in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So-
Oh yeah.
Are you going to be checking during the birthing process?
Mate, fingers crossed it's going to be a C-section. So,
Yeah.
So you'll know.
be done.
Yeah.
But it's a topic that we're very interested in, and don't know anything about really. So it's timely that you're on because there's been a bit of a few issues yesterday. So before we actually get into all that, do you want to tell us about who you are and what you sort of do?
Yeah, sure. All right. My name's Simeon Rae. I'm the head of investments at the Rae family office. So essentially we invest in all kinds of assets. So crypto is one of them. Stocks, we do startup, sort of seed investing, property.
We've got a nice little startup you can invest in called the Hard Yarns Podcast. Yeah.
So it's a pretty diversified portfolio.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose once you get to a certain size of money, you really start to look at diversification, right? You don't want one of your ideas to really wreck your whole thing that you got going.
So it's like adult ADHD. Because I do freestyle rap, if that was no good.
Yeah.
Marriage celebrity, teaching,
Well,
comedy.
But the whole thing, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah,
100%.
I get that.
And it makes you sleep better at night, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boring shit in our
because
portfolio,
especially in a field of playing stocks, and it's like gambling. If one doesn't pay off, it would be fucking shattering, which we see in Wolfie.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the beauty of having a few different options.
Yeah, totally.
So before we even kick into that, you've just recovered from a bout of salmonella
Oh, really?
in 2022.
Yeah.
So how'd that happen?
Well, I won a couple of games of PUBG, and it's called a chicken dinner. And when you get a chicken dinner, I always feel like I have to have chicken for dinner.
Yeah.
And so I ordered KFC. So
Oh yeah.
my video games led me to KFC, and then I got crook the next day, about 12 hours later.
That's the worst advertisement. You got salmonella. Did somebody say KFC? That is
if Chicken Treat want to get on board as a sponsor.
well, Red Rooster, we can get Sev on board.
Yeah.
He'll sort it. But
So I don't even know what salmonella is. That's just when your stomach gets fucked up from raw chicken.
It's essentially like a pretty serious food poisoning. So it's vomiting. It's
is there anything you can do in regards to that? You can't prove it, really.
I think there are tests you could do. I went and got blood tests to rule out other things that it could be, but they just decided to give me some antibiotics, and you basically just suffer through it for a few days.
Yeah,
that sucks.
But it's the second time that I've had salmonella, and the first time is quite a funny story.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I was in China. Oh no, I was in Mongolia, crossing the border to Russia.
Did you come across a man in a yurt?
Yeah, I was a man
dwarf?
in a yurt.
You were a man in a yurt. Did you save a guy from drowning by any chance? We've had a past guest. He rode his motorbike from London through to Africa and back home. So it's called the hard way home. Oh, cool. And he nearly drowned in the Mongolian desert. From a freak storm. Yeah. And he was saved by a midget in a yurt. So were you around? No? Oh, man.
For listeners who haven't listened to that one, go back, episode 92, Alan Roberts.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. So you're going through Mongolia?
Yeah. So I was on the Trans-Siberian train, and they do this thing where you, when you're going from Mongolia to Russia, because the gauge of the railway tracks is different in the different countries, so it's called changing the bogies, and they lift the whole train up. They lock the doors to the toilets, and Russian guards stand there, so you can't get on and off the train. Then they come and search the whole train for smuggling stuff, because that's a big smuggling route.
Okay, wow.
And they come and check your passports and shit. But it's 8 hours of just being locked there. But
what?
Most importantly, toilets are locked. Oh. And I just eat like microwave. They seem like microwave chicken wings in Mongolia. It was just, there's something off about them, but I was pretty hungry. So
my God. A sucker for a chicken wing, eh? Yeah.
And anyway, I started feeling crook. Started needing to, go to the toilet to throw up. I couldn't because it was locked, so I was pushing my way past these guards who didn't speak English to like vomit into the train tracks. And then like the conductor on our train was like, "What's wrong with this guy? Is he like bringing some weird disease into Russia?" Or
my God!
So she's like, trying to talk to me in Russian. We needed to find a translator.
Yep.
And there was this one bloke on the train. Oh, he was in a big posse actually. He was this gnarly looking dude. He was a Mongolian rapper, had teardrop tattoos, and him
what
and
was
his
his
crew.
name? Lil Genghis or something?
If you Google Mongolian rapper, it's like the first person that pops
Legit?
up. Yeah.
Can you Google that, Tex? Tex, can you do Mongolian rapper for us and bring it
Just
up?
Google Mongolian rapper.
Cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
He ended up being able to speak English, Russian, and Mongolian.
Okay.
He was on his way to play a show in Russia, and him and his crew had this big styrofoam box of like cooked meat that they were just eating for like 5 days before this. I was on the train with them for a while before we actually had this interaction. But anyway, he's coming in and I was like, "Oh man, I ate chicken. I feel sick. I think it's food poisoning."
Yeah.
And then they get this nurse to come onto the train. This Russian lady. It was the first Russian lady I'd seen so far since coming just across the border. She was blonde, blue eyes. She also didn't speak English either, but she was wearing almost like this skimpy nurse outfit. It was really short. She had like this briefcase. She's come in and
pulls out a strap on.
At this point, like this whole rap crew was in my tiny little cabin. She was in there. The conductor was in there. She's like talking to the rapper. He's talking to me. And then he goes, "She wants you to pull your pants down."
And you're like, "Fuck it, Lastrovia."
But anyway, she
was he taking the piss or was he?
No, it was she wanted to just give me a jab in the butt, but
with a needle,
figuratively or literally.
The Russians are right into pegging. Just wow.
So it was a pretty funny experience. Ended up making friends with that rapper and chatting with him after being terrified of him before that. So
wow. So what did the needle work?
Yeah, it actually stopped me from spewing, and a couple of days later I was good.
Fuck, man. So they were worried about you bringing drugs in, but they're putting drugs into you to go in.
Fuck.
Have you got that? Can you bring that up at all? Mongolian
I couldn't
rapper?
find it, but so
Okay,
crypto.
have a look. Hang on a sec. I want to see what this Mongolian rapper looks like.
But that's pretty crazy, man. That's a cool little story.
Is it one of those guys?
Yeah, it's that guy, the bald guy doing these things.
What's his name?
Al Jazeera. Oh, no.
Al Jazeera News.
That was Al Jazeera. I thought that was his rap name.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find his name in post and we'll put it
Yeah.
up.
His
with
That's
rap's
it.
classic.
pretty interesting, eh? It's they. This is probably not true, but they reckon that there's some origins of hip hop from Mongolia because they do this weird thing called throat singing over there.
Ah,
that has,
seen that.
syncopation,
Oh, really?
And it's
Yeah.
got this sort of flow of hip hop almost, and
I'd like to know.
his music kind of brings a lot of Mongolian influence, and then it's
Sick.
It's hectic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
throat singing's sick, man. Yeah, so that's pretty cool because you've traveled a lot. So for the listeners, I met Sim because I married him and his wife.
Oh, cool.
And then when we were chatting, I saw that you as your job were into trading and crypto, and then you told me you had crypto horses.
Crypto horse.
Because Squirrely bought some.
Squirrely, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I might get into that in a bit, but you've travelled heaps of other places, hey? Because that's basically, I think, did you guys meet in Melbourne and then you had travelled together?
Yeah, actually, no, we met. I was living in Melbourne, but I
Yeah.
came back to Perth for an event, and we met at that event.
That's right, yeah.
And then we met up again overseas and
Yeah.
travelled, and that sort of confirmed everything for us, and
Yeah.
we got together then. But
Any gnarly stories? Any other gnarly travel stories? Or we'll stop with the Mongolian.
oh, look, I don't know.
How can you go past the fucking? That's almost like that literally started reminding me of The Machine.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, The Machine.
Machine.
Oh, classic.
On a train as well with Russians.
That's exactly right. So I guess obviously the biggest thing that we want to talk about at the moment is crypto, because we don't know really anything about it, what it is, how it works. I was just investing in it because it was the trend. So blockchain. Can you explain what sort of blockchain is and how it works?
Sure. So I guess crypto is kind of referring to a token or an asset that lives on a blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And the first blockchain to be created was the Bitcoin blockchain by Satoshi Nakamoto.
Allegedly. If he's a real person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, it has to be a real person or a group of people.
Yeah.
Somebody did the work.
Yeah.
But
AI.
nobody knows who it is.
Yeah.
Lots of people have theories, but I won't really go into that. That's not as important. Essentially, it solved this problem that people had been trying to solve for a long time, like a lot of computer engineers, which was how do you transfer like a digital value? Because until that point, everything online, like you could, if you wanted to copy an image off online, you just copy and paste it. There's no, you can't say that image belongs to the person that posted it there. Everything's kind of, copyable.
Yeah, so how can you not just copy a thing of Bitcoin and send it? Yeah.
So
Okay, cool.
So they were able to prove that, a Bitcoin could leave one person's wallet and show up in another person's wallet, and there was no trusted party in between.
Mm-hmm.
It was this blockchain.
Yeah.
Blockchain is it's an open ledger, which means it's basically like a big spreadsheet that anybody can see, anybody can confirm that transaction's happened. All you need to be able to do that is to run a node, which is kind of technical and complicated, but anybody can actually do that. So
What does that mean? Run
Yeah,
a
what
node?
is a node?
a node essentially is you're storing that ledger on your PC of all the different transactions.
Okay.
So you need to kind of be connected to the internet. That's not mining.
Yeah.
The mining is actually the validation of the transaction from one person to another, and how they're able to do that without a person is these mining machines that race to solve an algorithm, a really complicated algorithm. And the prize for solving that is some unmined Bitcoin, or some Bitcoin that's never been used before.
So did this Satoshi Nakamoto crew or person create a program where it's got Bitcoin hidden within it, in a bunch of hard algorithms?
Yeah.
And then
Really?
Well, kind of. It's like there's always been a certain amount of Bitcoin to be mined or that exists. He was the first miner of Bitcoin, so he owns the most Bitcoin out of anyone in the world because he mined for the first few years and validated every transaction himself because he was the first person to come in and prove out this technology. So,
but was it there always, like the internet, there's Bitcoin in the internet?
No.
Or he made it?
He made it, yeah.
Right. So he's made this fucking super complex program that's got Bitcoin hidden within it. So imagine if it's like an escape room and you got to solve a puzzle to get the Bitcoin out of the escape room.
Is that how you get it?
Is that how it works, kind of?
Broadly?
I guess, yeah, it's an interesting analogy. Except that, you know, let's say you're in an escape room and there's 10 simultaneous escape rooms next to each other with 10 other people in it.
Yeah.
And you're racing to get out to find that Bitcoin.
Has all of the Bitcoin been mined?
No.
So
There's like a million and a half or something left to be mined.
so I could just go on and find some.
Yeah, but it
if
takes
I'm
stupid amounts of processing power now, right? Because there's not many left. But I think we've just jumped ahead.
Yeah.
Heap. So this person has created the program and put the Bitcoin in there and hidden it with algorithms.
Yeah. He would have also
how does someone do that?
Opened up with a bunch of Bitcoin that he's given to some people. It didn't have any value at the beginning.
Yeah.
So him and other computer coders would have started with some Bitcoin that they created. So let's say it was 10 million or something, and then there's 8 million to be mined. They've created this token. It's built on this technology that requires computation to validate these transactions.
Yeah.
And then it started working, and it started to gain interest from other people. That it was more of an academic thing initially. That
is it like a almost a challenging game that he has done with himself? That's how it feels. Like he's just like on, this is sick. I'm going to create my own little, escape room, but sort of thing.
Well, he initially did want to make a money for the internet.
Okay.
So that was the goal, like to have a money that wasn't, tied to a sovereign country.
Yeah.
So decentralized currency.
Yeah, something you could use anywhere in the world, anywhere on the internet.
Yeah.
So that was the initial aim. Whether it will be that or not, now it's sort of more treated like a digital gold now or something like that, a store of value. Not that it's been doing very well at storing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that was his initial goal was for that sort of system to take off and to proliferate.
Now
and
that blows my mind because it's been created from nothingness. So is it his brain that's created those algorithms, or is it a program that then creates harder algorithms to solve?
It's an automatically
program.
Yeah.
Which is that essentially AI?
I guess there must be some AI.
A form of AI technology?
Yeah,
Okay.
And to second that, where does it live? In the cloud? On a drive somewhere? Is Bitcoin a program that is in one place protected?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, where is it all stored?
Yeah, it's stored in lots of different places. It really depends on the person that owns the Bitcoin.
Okay.
So, like, if you were to buy it on an exchange or something like that, then it's kind of stored in a cloud. Like it's not in your house. It's not in a little device that sits in your safe or something like that.
But when you're mining for it.
Oh, when you're mining for it.
I want to start mining. Where does it look?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. We don't know.
I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, there is... I guess you don't see the unmined Bitcoin until it is delivered to you as a reward for mining it.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to answer it. It's not really in a cloud. It's just yet to exist.
Yeah. So nuts.
Let's think. Yeah, it is complicated. It is hard to wrap your mind around because then it's not just progressed from it's progressed from not just Bitcoin to countless numbers of other different currencies. I guess digital currencies. And are they the same? Are they hidden, or are they just like, here it is, you can purchase it?
Yeah, there's all
about
kinds of different types.
How many coins are there now? Like 7,000 or something?
Yeah, there's thousands. So I can't really talk to all, but I could talk to like a couple of different models that exist now. The next most famous crypto is Ethereum. And currently that's proof of work, which means that it is mined like Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
However, there isn't a fixed supply of Ethereum. There is a changing supply of Ethereum, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. At the moment, it means it's actually deflationary. So the amount of Ethereum that gets burnt in transactions and compared to the amount that gets rewarded to the miners, there's actually less being rewarded to the miners than being burnt right now. So it's shrinking a little bit, but there's been times where Ethereum supply has expanded.
And being burnt means it's just deleted.
Doesn't exist anymore. So
that's a bit
How do you delete it? How does it delete it?
It's a mechanism in the contract of doing the transaction. You kind of sign a transaction to say So to do a transaction on Ethereum, you need to pay Ethereum as gas, which is like fuel to get the transaction through. It's like you need to pay a transaction fee to send Bitcoin as well. But in Ethereum right now, it's super expensive. So.
And I guess, so what I'm seeing a lot, and I don't know if this is how you do it, what I'm seeing is punters like buy and trade and sell different currencies and Bitcoins and digital currencies, and then convert it back to Australian dollars, US dollars, and then that's their profit, and then they get out of it. Is that how you do it, or do you keep in the blockchain and then use that to purchase things and trade, or is that the long-term goal of digital currency? Is to basically one day you'll be able to go down to Coles and buy your food with Bitcoin or what?
I look at it that way. I'll cash out to a stable coin, which is like a crypto version of a dollar. So you can. There's actually not a real good Aussie one. It's kind of hard to get, but there's plenty of good US dollar ones. So if you're okay to cash out to USD, then I'll leave it within the crypto space so that then I can, make an order so that I could put in my exchange, say like if Bitcoin drops to 30K, buy it instantly, that kind of thing. So I've already got the funds ready to come back in. So I use it. I rarely go fully out of the crypto system because I do believe that one day we'll be using it to transact, whether it's, to buy our shopping or everyday things, or maybe it's one-off things, or maybe it's just to interact within a game, or, it's there could be a use. But, and again, a lot of the cryptos that I hold, I'm not trying to really speculate as much as your average person would be on it. I usually will only hold a crypto if I understand what the crypto does and have used it and have found benefit in it. And it's kind of my investing thesis for stocks as well. It's like I like to try and understand something early, like whether it's a high-tech invention like a Tesla or something like that. If I can feel the product, use it, understand it, and say, okay, I'm an early adopter here, I can make an early investment, and I know that this is a good product. I'm coming at it from a different angle than someone who's, I guess, never been in a Tesla or doesn't know the product, but just thinks, I'll just jump in it. I've got a little bit more insight. So for cryptos, I like to have ones that I can use, ones that I will want to use in the future, but I'll understand why I'm going to use them as well. And I think that's probably one of the most important sentiments I'd like to pass on to people, is that crypto is super complicated. It'll take you weeks to understand the single project, and that will be reading about shit you don't understand. If that's not for you, then only gamble a tiny bit in crypto. Then it's gambling, right? It's 100% gambling. Then it's just like,
is that what all trading is? All stock?
Well, trading is more like educated gambling, right?
That's how I like to see it. Like if I have an idea for a company or something like that, I don't necessarily buy it the next day. I'm going to wait for the right price. I'm going to think about, why am I buying it now rather than in 6 months' time? It's because I expect in the next 6 months something is going to happen. And so I always like to, think about a catalyst in the near-term future that's going to be the reason. And if that catalyst gets pushed back or doesn't happen, then I'll have to reassess my position there. And that might mean just selling it because it hasn't done what I wanted it to do. I don't go in blind, That's, I guess, my point here is that I like to try and have a plan for my investments. And,
That's probably the best move as well, because I was just like, this is sick, in 2 years I'll be rich.
Because there was a program to invest in it. There was a
bamboo?
No, was a blue app. I cannot remember for the life of me.
It's
what
the
it
one
was.
with the change.
Hey,
Is that the one where you put your loose change in?
no, it
That
was.
bamboo.
Yeah, no. So this was a. It was you could bet on Bitcoin and
Oh yeah, I remember that
I
one.
can't remember what it was,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's what I made all my money on. But that was using Australian dollars to, and the value, and then if it went up, it's just same as shares basically. The value increase. You're only buying a percentage of it, and you're only investing a percentage of it, but getting the full. Yeah, I can't remember what it was. It was pretty cool, but it was also pretty dangerous because eventually they realised you could only hold onto it for a limited amount of time. You had an end date, so I'd have it for like when I initially first started buying Bitcoin on this or investing in Bitcoin, I'd buy 10 Bitcoins, and I'd only have to invest $2,000. It might have been worth $20,000, but I only had to put the $2,000 in, and then I'd see the profits result, and then I'd come back. But if I missed the timeout sort of the timeout section or whatever it was, whenever it would.
You sound educated.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the terms they would use, but eventually the purchase would time out and it would sell back, and you'd lose if you were up profit or loss. It didn't matter.
Cop it what it
Yeah,
was.
exactly.
Yeah.
And eventually it went from like 60 days to like 2 days. So if you chose the wrong, it was so temperamental. So I stopped using it. But I was just
like
very.
there was a bit of leverage or debt in there to be able to buy more Bitcoin than you're actually buying.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So I would literally just, I just timed it perfectly. I invested maybe $1,000 in, and then within 3 weeks I had $20,000, and then I just cashed out, and then the huge crash happened.
So is that leveraging? Because Wolfie always talks about that. Wolfie's another comic who's
that's
so leveraging is when you're betting against or for a stock to go up.
No, leverage is when you take on extra risk via debt. So
That sounds so bad.
So it means that it's like you had $1,000 in your betting account, and then you wanted to bet $2,000 on this game tomorrow.
Yeah,
and then you enter an agreement with Sportsbet or whoever who's going to lend you the $1,000. But if everything goes wrong, you're liable
for an extra $1,000.
Maybe they're taking security over some other asset. I don't know. Like,
it's
I'm
like
not
a double
sure
or nothing.
Was, but yeah,
is like an interest on that as well?
Yeah, usually.
Wow.
Usually, yeah, it's pretty high. It's pretty risky.
So you need to be very certain.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is that don't fuck with leverage.
Yeah.
Like it's tempting when you don't have like a lot of money to start with. It's tempting to say, oh, maybe I'll go 10 times the amount that I have or something like that.
Yeah.
I would just say that that then you start trading on margin calls, which is like if the price of this asset drops to a certain amount of money, they will just take the asset from you and sell it instantly, and you lose your initial money as well. So it's like you don't have as much leeway in terms of like if the market were to drop really bad the next day, you can get really wrecked. And people in crypto, they know these levels that people are getting margin called at, and there's a lot of manipulation in it. You could have someone who owns so much Bitcoin one day know that there's a margin call level. Let's say it's trading at 32, but at 30,000, a lot of people are going to get margin called and have to sell their Bitcoin. So they will sell Bitcoin to below 30,000, and at 30,000, those margin calls click in, and then it'll gap down. It'll drop even further because all this Bitcoin has to be sold to a market that might not want to buy it. And then that whale who initiated that big crash will come in and buy crypto again at the bottom.
Is that what?
That makes sense.
Is that what Elon Musk did? Because he sold a shitload at one point, and it just crashed the value, and then I think he repurchased.
Yeah, no, he didn't repurchase. He sold 10% of Tesla's holdings to prove its liquidity, and what that means is to prove that he could sell it and that he could go back to cash if he needed it.
Okay.
And then he stopped accepting it as a form of payment for Teslas because of its environmental impact. And the environmental impact comes from that mining thing that we talked about before. It's like running a whole bunch of gaming rigs all rigged up to each other. It takes a lot of energy.
And that's one of the questions we had, which we can get into that now quickly. It was the carbon footprint that Adam Gray he sent in a question this morning, like, what are your thoughts on the carbon footprint that it does leave behind?
So we kind of go all over the shop with our podcast, but
that's fine.
To come all the way back, so crypto, we got the mining.
Yeah.
You got to mine it to get there. Now to mine it, originally it didn't take a lot of energy or power, right?
Yeah, because there weren't many miners, and there's this other. I'm getting a little bit more technical here, but as more people start to mine it, the difficulty to mining it goes up. So you need more and more machines to mine the same amount of Bitcoin, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. So smart, this
which
person
is
that wrote the program.
Yeah, so it's just essentially more electricity, more energy.
More electricity like guarantees the Bitcoin network.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Like, does that concern you at all?
Yeah, totally. Like it is concerning, and I suppose I'll frame it like this. So everything uses electricity, almost everything uses electricity or energy. But we're okay with certain things to use energy or electricity so long as we get value from them.
Yeah.
Now, I think where a lot of people come with the Bitcoin thing is they just think the Bitcoin has zero value. They don't understand how it could help people around the world. And it can, because it is this decentralized currency that, you know, let's say you're living in Venezuela or something like that, where your currency gets inflated every day.
Yeah.
That is actually purchasing power protection. And, you know, you might not be able to go and buy USD, but you can go online and buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And you've seen in Ukraine, it was quite handy there for a lot of people in there.
What happened there?
Homes. But yeah, it's. I think in the last sort of 6 months, there's been a pretty good use case of how Bitcoin can do good.
Yeah.
So first of all, you know, if you just don't think that Bitcoin has any value, then I can't have a conversation about you know, the footprint. If you believe that, then we're just we just can't move forward on this conversation, because you just think, why would you burn electricity for something that has no value? Therefore, it's a waste of, we're ruining the planet for nothing.
Yeah.
But if you can get past that and say, there's a value there, then you just need to say, all right, well, is it worth burning this much electricity? And I mean, if all of the generation was from coal and fossil fuels, then you know, it'd be a pretty bad thing. But increasingly, investors are demanding ESG outcomes, which is environmental, social, and governance. And so, personally, like, I can't invest in certain companies if they, you know, don't tick a few boxes for me from an ethical standpoint.
Yeah. What's the nickname for that? Like an ethical investor or something?
Yeah.
Do they get given
a
title?
Yeah. Well, like, you know, ESG is the sort of broad term for it, but investors care a lot more about that, and they put pressure on companies to be better by saying, you know, oh, we're not going to fund your next capital raise because you haven't done anything about climate change yet, or you haven't got any women on your board, or this kind of thing. And then all of a sudden they're forced to do these things so that they can continue with their business, because the investors are kind of there driving the public sentiment.
That would be so fucking frustrating if you've got a great way and your business is making money, but because some people don't like the fact that you don't have, you know, a woman on your board or a man on your board, depending on who it is, or if you're not doing X, Y, Z, you're like, well, fuck, man, I'm making you money.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden are you holding me at ransom for something that I've created myself, which would be quite frustrating as a business owner. And it's
like the last 5 years that's been a thing, because before those CEOs would have just, you know, gone about their business doing that. So, I mean, so from the mining perspective, so when Tesla came out and said we don't like the environmental side of things, you know, like there was a lot of fuss about that, and Bitcoin sold off pretty hard. People were like writing a lot of articles about it. Reality is that it's very hard to verify where the electricity that goes into the
so because it could be from your renewable energy.
Yeah, a lot of like I'll give an example. We backed pretty early a company called Mawson's Infrastructure Group, and they're listed on the NASDAQ. It's an Aussie-based crypto mining company. They're 80% renewable at the moment.
Yeah, right.
And they actually provide a pretty interesting service to renewable energy generators. So let's say you've got a solar farm, right, and you've built it out. During the day, you know, let's say only like 50% of it is getting drawn by the local population. You've got excess power generation.
Yeah.
You like to store that energy in batteries is super expensive to build out a battery pack, and I hope like more and more of that will happen, so that then they can use that electricity at night and everyone comes home from work.
which is way more usually.
Yeah.
Everyone's on their
Is that the
computers and TVs and aircon and
yeah? Is that the pros and cons of like it takes a huge carbon footprint to create a battery, but then long term you've got this battery that can store this energy for longer? Is that
it's not so much that, it's just that batteries are kind of in short supply right now. So and they are expensive as well. So
is that because of materials or like?
Yeah, materials. So like raw materials going into batteries, I suppose in 5 years we're going to be in a really tough spot because, you know, a lot of people transitioning to EVs, a lot of green energy projects wanting to stationary battery storage.
yeah.
There's just not enough lithium. There's not enough of the other metals like.
So invest in them.
Oh yeah, you should. Yeah, totally. I think that's a cool thing.
What are those materials? Out of
Like
interest?
lithium, nickel, copper.
Yeah. Sorry, we cut you off there. So yeah, the Mawsons, they've got this. So at night time when you come home.
Oh yeah. So they'll go to the energy generator, the solar farm, and say, look, we'll take all of your excess power, and then when people start coming home, we'll scale down, we'll turn off machines so that you can provide all the power that you can to the local population.
So are they going there to mine crypto with their?
Yeah.
So it could be in the wheat belt, and they're going to set up next to the solar farm to mine.
Yeah,
Wow.
they'll go on site.
Wow.
So essentially, what that does when you think about that is the company that owns the solar farm, this big energy company, has invested a lot into this solar panel project. Now all of a sudden the whole project's underwritten by this Bitcoin miner. They're selling all of their energy. Now they can go on and build another one. Like they can take that full capacity plant and go to another one, and they'll know in the back of their mind that they can tap on Mawson and say, hey, do you guys want to set up a mining rig at the next one until we get, you know, like it makes sense that it could almost progress renewable energy in some ways. So
wow.
Look, this is one miner that I'm talking about, and a lot of the North American miners are actually really progressing well towards renewables. I mean, the Musk thing was a good thing because it did draw a lot of attention to the industry, and most of these companies are publicly listed, so they have investors to answer to, and investors are thinking like, well, do I want to buy the brown coal, you know, Bitcoin miner or the renewable Bitcoin miner? Like, which one am I going to do? It's kind of an easy
Pretty
choice.
simple choice, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's my long-winded answer to the Bitcoin footprint thing. Like, you got to first think that it's worth something, but then also you got to know that there are options to invest in green Bitcoin mining, and if enough investors care about it and choose to invest in the green Bitcoin miners, then you know the coal ones might go out of business. So you know.
Wow, that's fucking insane. It's something I haven't even considered before.
Not at all. No, not at all.
What happens when the last Bitcoin's mined though? Although do they just switch?
They hope that the transaction fees at that point will be enough to keep the network running. So as a miner, you earn the transaction fees and the Bitcoin mining reward.
Right.
But you know, this is like 60 something years in the future or something when the last Bitcoin is mined, because every 4 years the amount of Bitcoin you can mine is halved. So it keeps, even though there's like a small amount left, the amount that you get rewarded keeps getting smaller. So it kind of it'll go for a while.
I can't believe a human created that.
Yeah.
Man. Like, and how long ago was Bitcoin? 2000? Just after?
It was like what, 2011 or 2012? Yeah,
because that's still like that's a lot of forward thinking, because there's technology that's not even invented that's going to make mining it easier, and they've accounted for that by halving it down. Like,
it's such a
futuristic play.
It's just it's an out of the box way of thinking. It's a different way of thinking, and most people would give up on an idea like that. It's crazy.
Yeah,
so
well, there
what
were
are
lots
some
of attempts before Bitcoin at making that online currency that
So
failed? You know,
what is the appeal to? Because I feel like the biggest appeal to online digital currency is the lack of governance by the state and the decentralisation of it. So there's I guess the fear of that from a government side of things is money laundering. There's ways that you can sort of pay people for dirty deeds and whatnot, I guess, and they won't be able to tell what it's for or what's happening. So I've seen at the World Government Summit, they're talking about creating their own digital currencies, and and too centralizing it and regulating digital currencies. Is there like a big concern for people like yourself, or is there just a concern in that to begin with? Because I think the detachment from the state is the biggest appeal of digital currency.
Look, I think that yes, it would be ideal that if there were central bank digital currencies, like if we had one here, that it were to be decentralized. But to be honest, it's probably not going to be. They're going to want to. The cool thing about them is they allow you to do certain things and achieve certain things because it's smarter than money.
Off Silk Road.
Yeah.
But if you said, for example, like we made a digital Aussie dollar and then we went into a recession and we wanted to give out stimmy checks to everybody, like let's say we want to give everyone $500.
Yep.
But we don't want them to fuck off to Bali and spend it. We want them to spend it in Perth. So we could put a rule on the currency to say that this has to be spent within 2 months in Perth, or something like that. So I think
is that a concern though?
Yeah, that's kind of
because
scary,
is that like with you see the trucker convoy in Canada, bank accounts being frozen for donating.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that it's under the guise of a good idea, but at the same time doesn't mean it can't be abused by the state, which is again going against what they're trying to achieve.
So I think that Canadian trucker thing was quite an interesting positive for Bitcoin, and what it really, for those who don't know the story,
I can explain it.
There was a protest in that was shutting down the streets. Was it Toronto?
Yeah. It was across all of Canada.
Okay. And these truckers had stopped working to protest for higher wages or lack of it was mask mandates.
It was mandates and government oversight in general. Yep.
Yeah. And then supporters of the cause were donating Bitcoin to these truckers because they said this is the way to circumnavigate. They'd already had their bank accounts frozen, these truckers. We could circumnavigate it with crypto.
Which is insane to think already that a government can just say, hey, you're protesting against the state. You're protesting against our oversight and we're just going to say, no, you can't spend your money anymore.
That's ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous.
So that's a real positive for Bitcoin at the very first instance. But then they went to ban and block your Bitcoin accounts. And how they're able to do this is because so a company like Coinbase that operates in Canada will require a license to offer their services there from the government. So when the government says, hey, we're going to revoke your license unless you blacklist all these names and block their accounts, then, so they would have threatened them to do that. And I guess it goes to this notion of not your keys, not your coins. And what that means is that when you own a Bitcoin or hold Bitcoin on an exchange, it's not actually in your wallet, it's in the exchange's wallet. And then they have the custody of it ultimately. And in a situation like this, it's really exposed the I guess the downside of keeping your crypto on an exchange. So what it does show is that people kept donating Bitcoin to these guys after all of that happened. They just went not through exchanges. They went through custodial wallets, which are ones that you can download on your computer or like little USBs. Then you can just plug into internet anywhere and send Bitcoin to anyone. Nobody can stop you.
How did they find the truckers? Would they had to put their details up somewhere?
So they when they asked for a donation, they put a wallet address on social media.
Oh, sick. And no one can get into that wallet without the key, hey, except for you. It's almost.
But if that wallet was on a Binance or a Coinbase or whatever, then they could just block it. Stop you from logging in.
It is terrifying that the state that you're protesting against can then freeze your assets, so you can't protest against them. Which is
it's total. It's the kind of shit you see in
and
dictatorships.
Completely.
Well, and I guess the thing about the World Government Summit where I found it's like it's in plain sight, but it's closed doors. So you have to be invited to go, and they have this conversation within themselves, but just they film it so everyone can see. And these are unelected officials making comment and advising governments on how we can run our finances, just so it can benefit them. Which for me is just like. It's insanity. We're letting the people who run the world make the decisions so they can further run the world. It's just crazy.
I agree. And I mean, it's even spookier right now when you've got, Putin and Biden all armed to the teeth, just two men that can decide to end the world if they want.
So one guy who
Biden would do it accidentally.
fall asleep on the button.
Yeah.
Go, oh, fuck. Blah, 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 blah. But,
So we did hit on a point there, which maybe we can expand on. So, so we got the crypto, you mine it, you get it, it's worth the value, it halves, which makes it more valuable because it's harder to get, right?
So the amount of coins don't halve, the amount of coins you get from mining it halves.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So the amount of coins are the same?
How that flows through to you if you held Bitcoin is that, every day a miner's mining Bitcoin and then they sell the Bitcoin to buy more mining machines. That's essentially how their business works.
Wow.
So there's always a selling pressure from the miners as they get their new Bitcoin. There's always a certain portion of that new Bitcoin that will go onto the market, and as you reduce that supply, if demand stays the same, price should go up.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how much I'm learning in just a brief conversation. This is incredible. I know it's very base what we're doing, but I've got already got so much more understanding of what not Bitcoin, digital currency and blockchain is.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So from there, we hit on a digital wallet. So people mine it, then they've got two choices. Is that right? You can keep it on a server, or you can put it in your wallet.
Yeah, there's two main choices. There's lots of different choices within them. Like whether you have it on a Razor, was it? Yeah, like a hardware wallet or just on a computer wallet.
Yeah. Surely the hardware wallet's the safest.
Yeah, because it's disconnected from the internet.
Yeah.
So if somebody got control of your computer and somewhere you had saved your passwords or something like that, then maybe one of your computer wallet ones could get breached.
Yeah.
They're still pretty hard to breach.
Okay.
And they always tell you when you write down your secret seed phrase to put it on paper and not store it in your computer. So there's definitely some best practices that you can do to protect yourself from hacks.
Yeah.
So like my sister's been hacked on Binance before because she
really?
had two-factor authentication and she lost all of her crypto.
Whoa.
Quite a bit, so.
Wow.
Yeah, and
there's no insurance against that?
No, none, because somebody just had got access to her email, and then from there had requested a new password and locked her out and transferred everything off.
That's such a good hack for them.
Fuck.
Oh, fuck.
Jesus.
That's devastating. Does she know how they got it?
Well, yeah, it's having.
But like how they got into her email?
Oh yeah, nah.
She
just
had
to change passwords and all that kind of thing.
That's so scary.
So two-factor authentication.
You need that because that stops the remote actors from getting at your stuff that is stored on an exchange. So I keep crypto on an exchange. I don't have everything off it in safe little wallets in safes. Like I have a core amount of Bitcoin hiding in a safe that's disconnected from the internet. But I like to earn yield on some of my Bitcoin, put it to work.
So what does yield mean? Yield means when you make money off as it increases?
Well, no, it depends on it. It just means getting paid for your coins. Essentially, you can lock them up and stake them, which is another way of verifying transactions on a blockchain like mining.
Explain, this is so interesting.
So proof of stake is actually what Ethereum will become within the next 6 months or maybe by the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's going to be called Ethereum 2.0 then. But essentially it takes it from this heavy intensive mining verification method to you stake your crypto. So if you held Ethereum, you have a certain amount, you can stake it and
like a bet?
You just you lock it away somewhere on this website.
Yeah.
And that proves that you own a portion of the network, and then you're running a node. So that means you've got that ledger of all the different transactions.
Yep.
And you're verifying it by having a certain amount staked. You'll get paid a percentage on that staked amount. Going to be about 5% or something.
Why would someone pay you a percentage? That's what I don't.
Because you're validating transactions for the network. You're allowing the network to actually operate.
So instead of having to mine it, you hold it. You are the mine.
Yeah. You're the mine.
Yeah.
So you have to run a node though. So it's like you have to have 32 ETH, and then run a node, and then you can get paid for being a staker.
Right. And to run a node means you've got a certain amount of Ethereum in a row.
Yeah. You'll have to have 32. Then you'll have to have some software that has the runs the ledger on it.
Right. Now that's pretty advanced.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay. I was like,
Yeah.
for your average person,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sounds fucking hard, man.
Yeah, and it's hard to get to 32 ETH as well at the moment.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. Because what would that be worth? 32
Yeah,
ETH.
shit, I don't know.
What's an ether at the moment?
It's
3,000?
It's about
So
3,000.
nearly 100 grand.
What is it? Because like
Who knows?
we had a big.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
what has actually what's happened over the last
Yeah.
few days? Because it's just everything.
War?
Yeah. So
yeah.
So the crypto basically trades like a risk asset, and what I mean by that is that you could like look at all of the stocks on the stock market and divide them into sort of different categories, and you would say that tech is higher risk than say like a petrol company or something like that.
Because it can be outdated and upgraded and someone better can come along?
It's
Or-
actually just valued differently.
Okay.
So like when you look at software or like a high growth company, you value it at a multiple of future earnings.
Mm.
Sounds complicated and it's weird that they do it this way, but they might say like Tesla is currently valued at, 25 times 2025 earnings. So somebody is predicting the earnings in 2025
Yep.
and then applying a multiple, so a number that they're going to multiply that revenue by or that earnings by,
Yep.
and then that's going to give them the stock price.
Yeah.
So when you have times of inflation or rising interest rates, they start to discount that future earnings as the interest rates start to go up. And
Yep.
why they do that is because basically you start to have an opportunity cost or a decision to make. You're like, do I take a risk on paying for this company that's valued at, a couple of years away, future earnings, and we don't know what's going to happen there? Or do I just take this 2% in the bank now?
Yeah.
Like,
It's safer.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
got no risk. And
Yeah.
it's like, that also kind of flows onto if you're leveraged up, if you've borrowed money, the money starts to get more expensive to pay off, and then you can't take as big a bets on your stocks, so multiples compress. So you've seen this year, inflation's through the roof, and the government, is forced to raise interest rates all around the world.
Yeah. Well, it's only logical, right? Like we can't keep increasing all the time without any stopgaps or any way to.
It was always going to happen at some point.
People are like, oh, the economy has to keep going. It's like, fuck, man. At some point, it's got to slow down, and you can't always exponentially increase.
That quantitative easing question that you talked about before that somebody was going to ask was,
do you want me to read it out?
read it out. Yeah.
So we've got branching. It says, do you think the US stock market will crash, or do you think there will be more quantitative easing from devs?
Yeah, well, I mean, during 2020 COVID, they printed a lot of money through stimulus checks, through just buying bonds and equities. They inflated the asset market essentially.
And printing money is not good because it's not backed by any gold.
No,
right?
so it used to be that all money was backed by gold, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there was a finite supply of money almost because there was a finite supply of gold.
Yeah.
And then they went off that method in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Now central banks think it's okay to increase the money supply in certain times, in certain conditions.
Whatever helps them.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that we shouldn't have gotten paid stimmy checks and that kind of stuff during COVID. A lot of people needed it, and all those things that they did to pay for people's wages really helped a lot of people. So. But one of the unintended consequences of that is that there's a lot more money sloshing around in the system, and when you get a supply shortage that we're having now, where microchips are in short supply and battery minerals are in short supply, and
Even toilet paper.
yeah, all this kind
Everything
of stuff.
that we want,
Everything
yeah.
that goes into building everything we like is in short supply, and you've got more money and less things. Things go up in price, and you
Yeah.
saw it in cars.
So the cost of living increases.
and then oil was like the thing that no one saw coming was this Ukraine war, and the price of oil shot up, and oil touches every product, right?
Yeah.
Like to make an iPhone, I wonder how much oil is in that.
Yeah.
Transporting things around, like literally.
Well, we spoke about it with, and specifically in the States, I think like a lot of their fertilizer comes from Russia, and then obviously the oil they use and whatnot. And so it all ends up going towards the food, and then the transportation to the suppliers and all that. So it's like a trickle down effect, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. So there was a huge inflation shock to everybody. Nobody really thought it would get this bad. In fact, last year there were signs of inflation, and everyone was saying it was transitory. It's going to go away. We're just going to work through these supply chain congestions, this shipping issues we've got, all this stuff. It's
head in the sand.
Yeah, and they were really slow to react.
Saving face. Like, our decisions have created this.
They're not admitting it, but I think everybody knows that the Fed made a mistake and they were too slow to recognise inflation. And I'm talking about the American one. And I would say the Australian RBA here too has been very slow. Like New Zealand raising rates a few months before us, and it was pretty clear that the whole world was going to be experiencing the same kind of inflation.
Yeah. It's like if we ignore it, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And then you got to open your eyes.
Isn't that one of those situations where you spoke about this in regards to another topic, but like, this is what the decisions we made at the time we felt were the right decisions, but now we need to reassess and pivot.
Yeah.
And because they don't want to admit that they maybe made a couple of errors, this has never happened before in every sort of aspect. They don't want to go backwards and make those decisions. And now we're actually suffering because of their lack of action.
I'd agree with that entirely. Yeah. So I mean, going back to
Quantitative easing
was I guess so. They did more QE than they've ever done in the last few years. I mean, I think they almost doubled the supply of money in the States over like 3 or 4 years, which is nuts.
Can't be good.
No, it's not. And that's one of the huge arguments for Bitcoin. And sadly, it doesn't trade like it should as a store of value. It's being treated like a risk asset now. And my theory on that is that we were like, as an industry, really wanting institutions to come in and take a position in Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheets. And that started to happen last year with Tesla and some of the other big companies. However, when you've got like professional finance people looking at an investment in Bitcoin, they're going to treat it like a risk asset, and they're going to put the same filters that they put over their current portfolio and say, if rates go up, we need to sell. Like we'll sell our tech and we'll sell our risk assets.
Is this leading towards, and this is where conspiracy theorists come into it, you hear the New World Order they always talk about, and the one world currency, the centralized currency, where everything gets so bad where they just have to completely fuck off the current financial system and go to this new one. They call it the Great Reset.
Yeah.
Is that where, are we literally either intentionally or unintentionally on path for that?
I'm going to just say that's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that I hold Bitcoin is for that eventuality.
Okay.
Like, if you just, it's like an insurance policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had 1% of your wealth in Bitcoin and the Great Reset were to happen, that 1% will protect you completely. So that's a reason to hold it. It's not why I hold all my crypto. There's ones that I hold for different reasons.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about before, you like to have something that has use. What crypto have you found that has use? Because there's so many that just put it out, hope to get a short, pump up and then catch you later, then they're gone.
Yeah.
I got fucking ripped off $1,000 I put into some fucking crypto that launched and it just never launched. They kept counting down, then it froze and everyone just lost all their money. So what are some that you use that you think have value, and what can you use them for? I know there's some that you can use in video games and stuff like that.
So I suppose the ETH is probably the biggest one, because all of the Web3, I'm going to use a term here that people might not know, but Web3 is essentially the next level of internet where you connect your own wallet to a digital website, an application, and then you don't log in, you just connect your wallet that sits in your browser, and then you can interact with value in that application. And what I mean by that is you can spend your crypto in it. But it's you deciding to spend it, it's in your wallet, self-custody, but I guess that leads into I guess, the gaming space in crypto and play to earn. A lot of it is built on the Ethereum blockchain or the layer 2 solutions like Matic or Solana, things that help scale the Ethereum blockchain, essentially make the transactions cheaper because they are more centralized. So there's certain projects where, like, Matic, Solana, where you can get, millions of transactions a second for a fraction of a cent or free. But they have drawbacks because they're centralized. It means that there's only like 20 nodes that are owned by the blockchain company, and they run it and they have a lot of power over it. But they allow for high throughput and allow you to, enter 100 digital horse races in a day and not pay anything. Yeah. If you were to do 100 Ethereum transactions, it would cost you lots of ETH.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that, the digital horse races and the digital owning a digital horse? Mm-hmm. Like, how does that work? Because we've spoken about Squirrely owning one or buying one or investing in one, or whatever.
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay, so it's an Aussie startup called Zrun.
Of course it is. Horse racing.
Actually from some punters that, worked for sports betting companies and
Wow.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they saw back in 2017 there was this project called Crypto Kitties, which was the first NFT thing, and it actually broke the Ethereum blockchain. It slowed it down so much. There were so many people breeding these little kittens together. Yeah. And then they're like, I don't know. I never played that game.
Yeah.
So but explain the breeding.
It's like Tamagotchi.
Yeah. So you got if you have two NFTs with different traits or something like that, so two pictures.
Yeah.
And you breed them together, it would create another picture. And
so, but someone would create a program for them to breed in, hey?
Yeah.
So this is more towards NFTs.
Yeah, this is NFTs now. Yeah. So like basically you would do this action of putting these two NFTs together, but in reality you were just minting a new NFT, which is creating a new NFT.
Yeah.
And it must have carried some traits from its parents or something like that.
Like, what is an NFT? Like, really, very broadly, what is an NFT?
An NFT stands for non-fungible token, but and fungible means it can't be broken down, or it's just so it is its current form. So essentially a piece of art that can't be chopped up or duplicated or copied and pasted. You can copy and paste it, but it won't be on the blockchain. It won't be able to do anything with that copy and paste. So essentially, NFTs now, they range from all different kinds of projects. There's ones that interact in games, so they can be characters in a game or a horse in a horse racing game or something like that. Or it can be a profile picture that has a promise to some future thing. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club is the most famous NFT collection, and they've got a big roadmap of, if you hold a Bored Ape, you can come on the yacht that they're going to buy with it one day, and you're going to be able to get access to this digital metaverse and all these kinds of they promise you these things. So that's a lot of projects out there in the NFT space are just art projects basically that are kind of like a ticket to something.
So like Gary V, for example, he draws his own pictures, turns them into NFTs. The shittest little cartoons ever, and then he creates them into a digital token, and then you can buy them. What for him, does he provide some sort of value?
Well, I don't know I don't know him specifically. So you could just have art that just is represented as art, and that you can view it on your computer, or you could maybe send it to an art gallery and they can put it up on a screen somewhere. So that's the purest form of an NFT that has no utility, essentially. It's
just human perception giving it value.
Yeah, exactly.
But is that what art is anyway?
Cultural significance. Yeah, that's exactly what art is. So you need a culturally significant event in an artist's career for their art to be worth something.
Yeah.
Might be them dying,
like them dying, literally.
So does that then become an issue for money laundering and things like that, which we see with people doing that with art? We see that with Hunter Biden fucking painting probably naked on canvas and selling it. Usually you'd assume, we're just making a big assumption here, so not fact, but you'd assume he's using that for influence with his father. Is that what other people will be doing, like money laundering? I'll give you this I'll pay you $400,000 for this piece of art. I'm actually paying you to kill someone.
Yeah, it was for an art.
Yeah,
Fuck.
but it's for art. Do you know what I mean?
I wasn't expecting it to go that way. Though.
But
But that's probably the.
Yeah.
But I'm
or
talking
here's
illegal.
400 grand. Have it talk to my my manager in this or this director of a company.
Yeah.
You've got access now.
That's a nicer way of doing it.
Yeah.
Well done, Delby.
yeah. I suppose, like, there's going to be like nefarious sort of things with everything. I mean, you can point to art being used like that, or even cash. Cash is like the biggest thing for the black market, and the government actively services its cash. Like it prints it, it lets you use it, and one of its main key things is that it is anonymous, right? Like that's what makes cash cash. So like there's always going to be things like that. I think NFTs just solve taking a piece of art and putting it online and making it scarce, making it a one-off.
So if we were to start, like, for example, a Hard Yarns NFT, put it on the blockchain, promise that, okay, once we've sold 10,000 of our 40,000 available, you're going to be involved in a amazing race that we can then say the winner will be getting $50,000. We've made, $250,000 anyway, so the $50,000 is nothing towards us, and that promise is like the value is in the fact that you have a chance of winning $50,000 plus.
He says it like he's making it up on the coffee. He's thought about this.
This is actually
like, this is an idea.
This is an idea,
100%.
but is that sort of what you could do? Create value in that?
Yeah, like I was on.
And if you are a listener and you would be interested in that, that's something
I was on a
I've thought
website
about.
the other day and they were like, "Do you want to participate in the mint, and then you'll get free access to all like the professional tools of this website." For a lifetime if you participate in this little so it's basically capital raising. It can be used in that way as well. So like you're saying, if you wanted to raise some funds to buy some new equipment or something, then you could promise that you get invited to all of our live podcast shows and all of these different things in the future forever.
And that's worth $400.
Yeah, now it's worth $400 and that can be traded around, that can be sold to someone else.
And then if you sell that, do you not get a profit as well as the owner and creator? Yeah, so you can build into your NFT a royalty structure. And and that's one of the more interesting aspects of it is that, like this Bored Ape group that designed them, they're selling for, sometimes $1 million at a time, these NFTs, and there's a 5% royalty commission that always goes to Yuga Labs, who created Bored Apes. And in perpetuity, so like forever. Yep. They will keep getting it any time it transacts, and there's been billions of dollars worth of transactions.
Wow!
So it's a serious business, and when you think about like a business that has revenue forever guaranteed, as long as that's a culturally significant thing, there's not really many out there that have a runway like that. So if it can be a really successful project long term, then that royalty thing is quite a cool.
Let's do that, Delby.
Yeah,
let's start a Hard Yarns thing.
The flip side is, bought your ape club, they might just never buy a yacht, and just after a while, people go, "This is fucked," and then sell off, and it's worth nothing.
Yeah, I think it's been slightly de-risked because that company's taken big investment from some pretty well.
Yeah, are there legalities involved in?
Well, now it's just owned by more people. It's not just a bunch of blokes who started it. It's got investors to answer to and stuff like that.
But theoretically,
if
we were to say we're going to do this, and then we just went, you know what, we don't.
One of the biggest NFT projects of recent times called Azuki. I just read yesterday the founder of that had done like 2 previous rug pulls, which is where they create a project and then get some hype around it and then just dump all of their stuff and get out of it entirely. So the founder didn't stick around 2 projects before Azuki, and Azuki's were selling for like 15, 20 ETH. They were pretty expensive NFTs, and then he's like, I'm just like a serial rug puller, and he told everyone himself.
And he just bailed.
Because everyone's a non, like online. I don't know.
I'm really down on this, Delby. I reckon we should
you want to rip some people off?
No, I want to do it right. I want to actually supply, and I want to do it well.
See, I wouldn't want to give a lifetime, because this is just me thinking.
No, not a lifetime.
I'm like, a lifetime of shows in 5 years' time, when I'm doing stand-up, my tickets now may be 30. Maybe in 5 years they're 100.
Yeah, but if you're still
giving 30 without,
but if you're still making the profit from that, because you'll be taking royalty fees from it. And if it's going up and up in value, like Delby becomes an international sensation. Fuck, if I own that NFT, I actually get to go to every one of his shows for free. It's probably values. So it would still be valuable to you.
And it's kind of like, when you think about that, it's like they invested in you now when you're not 100
Yeah.
and you got that money to go traveling or to do a tour or something like
Yeah.
that, which gets you to that next level.
So basically,
they're
capital
investing in
raising.
you.
Yeah, investment. Yeah.
So
But,
that's actually something we should talk about. That even if it's just a small amount of NFTs, 1,000, and then just like at every level, like every 100 NFTs we sell, we provide a certain service, and you get access to that by owning the NFT.
Yeah.
That could could work,
That's what Patreon is, but without the NFT.
except far more beneficial.
Yeah.
Like long
No,
term.
join Patreon.
Yeah,
Patreon's
yeah,
beneficial.
yeah, exactly. I mean, sorry, far more beneficial for
Which
us.
reminds me, we're going to do a shout out as well.
Oh, yeah,
for
definitely
the
at the-
patrons.
But
But yeah, the crypto horses is just an NFT that has a specific trait that goes into a program, and they run that horse.
Yeah, so essentially, mate, you're pretty spot on. It's like, you've got an NFT and the horse has got blind traits. You don't see them, so you don't know if it's like a sprinter or a long distance or mid distance.
Is this when it's a brand new
Yeah,
horse?
let's say you've just bred it.
Yeah.
And so you have to.
It's a program that spits it out, right? At random?
Yeah. Well, no, it takes factors of its parents, traits of its parents. So you try and.
But what if you're the first parent? What do you just go
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay, mine is the fastest in the world?
No, there is a first parent. They're called the Genesis.
Oh,
So they don't have
it's like the
parents.
Bible.
Yeah.
The Genesis.
Yeah, Genesis horses, and they're like
Adam and
they
Eve.
should have the best sort of genes. And
Okay.
They cost more. So
But do they have a time limit? Do
they
they
never die. Yeah.
They never die.
You can retire them, or that you will be able to retire them. And they're adding a feature that you can
Stud
essentially
'em out.
burn a horse or send them off to pasture.
Yeah.
And they'll give you like a
Tash will
an
protest
item
it.
to use in the
They give you what, sorry?
an item to use in the game, like something that will help you breed next time, like breed a better horse.
Can you stud them out?
Yeah.
So, and the Genesis horses, are there a finite amount, or you can,
Yeah.
have they all been bought already?
Yeah. I think the guys that made the game are holding on to a certain few to keep as like loan horses for new users can come in and rent one of these Genesis horses for like a week to try the game out. So most of them are in circulation at the moment.
Right.
But
So if you don't get in early, are you going to get a shit horse? Or does there
no.
somewhere every now and again like a magical thing?
there's RNG or random number game.
Wow.
Which is where like in every breed there'll be like a roll of a dice that
Oh.
kinda, and that's what keeps you coming back.
Fuck yeah.
and
So
that
you
sounds
could get a
gonna be
big hobby
beast.
diva
Yeah.
off two donkeys.
So
you can.
where do you
Yeah. Sick.
where do you watch these races?
Just on the computer, but you can send like a link to a friend to watch them.
And then can you bet on those races? Just
Not yet. Yeah, I think they'll add that function in, but
But because it's all
It's
maths
still
and
being built.
algorithms,
Yeah.
is that not going to be
that'd be-
sort of
yeah.
not as fluctuating as a real life horse bet?
Well, yeah. So the way that the racing works is it's probably I probably don't explain it very well, but there's like every horse has a potential to sort of run a time between 10 seconds and 15 seconds over this distance or something like that. Some will have a higher distribution at the quicker or lower end. And then basically all the horses get put into, the 12 horses get put into a race, and they run 1,000 simulations of this race and then pick one of them. And then, that's the race that you bet on. So it's a provably fair game. That's what they say. Being based on the blockchain, I think that they can kind of get close to that.
true randomness.
Yeah. So
really,
some
you're not
horses-
betting on form on that. It would be pure chance.
Pretty much every race is new, unless they've run more than 10 races in a day, and then they're tired, and then
What?
Yeah.
That's
And
so
then
cool.
conditions would factor in. Would they
They're
or
adding
artificial
tracks.
conditions?
Yeah, they're adding track conditions. So like soft track, hard track. You can be good.
Wind, rain.
Yeah.
Fuck, that is insane.
Yeah.
It's actually very interesting.
It's one way to stop if there is any cruelty that they think. I don't think there's much cruelty with what I've experienced. Do you own any real horses?
It's only in the.
We own like hobby horses, not race horses.
Yeah, okay.
It's more specifically the race itself, hey? Pushing them to a limit in which their lungs start to bleed.
Yeah, but they fucking get treated so well by the trainers. man.
in general life.
If you're a horse, what you want to do, man? Run and eat.
Yeah.
Right?
But I think
Run, eat, and fuck. And
I
that's
think
what
when it
the
comes,
horses do.
I think when it comes down to the being animal cruelty side of things, it's less the way they're treated in regards to their lifestyle and more that
Actual
one-off race where
yeah.
you're pushing them to a limit, and
Yeah.
whipping them, and whatnot.
Honestly, like I have really enjoyed horse racing growing up, and then what was it, the Cup a few years ago where I bet on the winner and the horse that died.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't feel good about that at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to bet on horses anymore. But then when I heard about this game, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm actually really,
yeah.
really interested in it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, yeah. So
Crypto.
it worked for me. Like, I mean, I feel like that would work for other people.
Yeah.
Whether like it'll be a good spectator sport or whatever, like that. Well, that's to be seen.
I think it's more if you own the horse rather than betting on the race.
Yeah.
Because your bet is, and how do you make money? So you put your horse in, everyone puts in a stake each?
Yeah, exactly. So you're going like a $2.50 race up to a $500 race. And then there's these free tournaments that run all the time. So you can just race for free if you've bought a horse in the free tournaments. And like I won, I don't know, I didn't win the whole tournament, but I got a couple of seconds in it and ran pretty deep in one of the early tournaments, won like, I don't know, $3,000 in one night. So that was like, that was one of the better.
And a free entrance.
Yeah, it was all free. So like there's potential to come in with you know, you could probably pick up a horse for about $30 to $50 and they're pretty cheap now. The NFT market's got smoked a bit. So
I think a few people have just pulled out their phones.
Yeah, it's complicated though. It's like you need to understand Web3 to play and sadly like that's just something you got to put time into. It's not like there's videos online to show you how to do it, but I recommend people try a Web3 website.
Yeah.
If they've got any crypto, chuck it in a MetaMask wallet in your browser, which is a built-in browser wallet, which allows you to go to these websites and connect to them.
Yeah. And
then check out some of the things that are happening in that space because I reckon that's the new frontier of tech.
Cool.
And as an investor, I'm trying to position myself there.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to understand, right? Older people don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think it's inevitable. So I just want to be one of those early people that understands it and encourage other people to at least do that work.
100%.
Because, I mean, two questions there then. First one would be, I think we've missed the most basic one of all time. How do you buy crypto?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you even get a Bitcoin? How do you buy
How do
one
you buy a
yourself?
wallet? How do you get a wallet?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the second part was the learning part, which is a massive thing. Everyone wants an easy, quick fix, like me included. You want to be able to jump on, do it. So before crypto was around, were you doing stocks and then you saw potential and you studied a bit and then got into it?
I kind of started doing them at the same time.
Yeah,
I used to run a health food store actually in Melbourne, so I was doing small business.
From health food to beer,
yeah,
which we'll talk about after.
Yeah. And then when I just started to do investing with my family, I looked at crypto as an opportunity and got really fascinated by it. I guess I was looking at them at the same time, and it took me a long time to be comfortable to talk about it with people.
Yeah,
you know, even though I knew more than the people that were asking me questions, I still didn't think I could answer questions well. So
cool.
It's so complicated, right? And to be a Web3 developer right now is probably the most sought after job in the world. It's a really hard set of skills.
Okay.
It's complicated.
Why is that? Because they use different to, I don't know, Python and all the other stuff.
Exactly.
So it's a whole new language.
They're building things that people haven't built before, you know?
Yeah, wow. So bugs going to be maxed out? Yeah.
Yeah, heaps of bugs.
Yeah. Are you learning how to do that?
No.
But are you investing in people that do?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I like to, what I love most about investing is learning about lots of different topics.
Yeah.
We can sit here and talk about how oil interacts with everything, and then I can talk about crypto. And that's cool. What keeps me interested in investing, because I'm looking at all kinds of industries and opportunities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think,
I guess the most frustrating thing is when you think something's going to happen and it doesn't. Or when it's so obvious that something should be happening but it's not. Is that usually an indicator of some form of corruption or something? Is it going to miss? Like, for example, The Big Short, when the guys were backing them in and they were like, this should be happening, but it's not. Does that happen sometimes with investments that you look into, or is that?
Yeah, I suppose. And if something's not happening in the time frames that you expected, that's usually a good sign, because you don't get like to come into the office of these companies and ask the CEO some tough questions. Unless you're a super big shareholder in that company or whatever. So how I'd sort of protect yourself against that shit is to try to, whenever you enter an investment, think about the price you're coming in at. Try and buy after some hectic days like we've just experienced, and then sort of set an exit price as well. It's not an investment if you just hold it forever.
Yeah.
And then and have an idea of what takes it from there to there. And if that doesn't happen within your time frame, then just move on.
Yeah.
Like don't get emotional.
That's the
don't
hardest
get attached.
part, I think.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on points bet. We were talking about pre-potty. I can't understand why it's gone down, and I don't know if people are
because
but people never gamble less.
Because your idea was a betting agency can't lose.
That's right. They don't lose.
Yeah. So why isn't the price going back up?
Especially one like points bet that's established and it's making its way into America.
I'm confused by how hard they got hit. Like maybe there's a bit of a like they're getting thrown into like the tech sort of group a little bit. But they generate,
lots of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah. So they had record like 100 million profit. I think the other day they posted like a massive profit, and now they're back down to half of what I bought them for, which is insane because they were at 4 times what I bought them for.
I think they'll rip back when the actually tomorrow there's this important bit of data. The CPI number for the States comes out.
What does that mean?
Consumer Price Index.
Yeah.
It's basically an inflation tool.
Yeah.
It's not really true inflation because it measures a basket of goods.
Yep.
And not every good is included in there. So you might see like wild inflation in something that's not in that basket, and it doesn't give
like
the
toilet
truth.
paper.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
So that if that kind of comes in lower than expectations, the market's sort of so much. There's a lot of cash just sitting on the sidelines that when the first bit of good data, you're gonna see a big rally.
I guess the scary part is as soon as something drops, it's scary because you don't want to buy it. But is that meant to be the time to buy it?
That's what I mean. Like,
because what if it drops more?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of got to look where it was, where it is now. Like how much has it come off from its highs, and when it was at its highs?
Yeah.
Did you think it was a fair price then? And then try and figure that out. It can always go down, but if it's already come off 50% or something, how much further down can it go? And stock markets looking forward. Yeah. So 6 months in the future, just use that as a rule of thumb. That's what they're pricing right now.
Yeah.
So they've got an idea of how many interest rates are happening this year.
Yeah.
And if inflation is lower than expected, maybe it's a surprise to the upside for us, like less interest rate hikes.
So let's use an example, and I'll only use this example because a friend asked about this specifically this morning. She had invested in Luna, which everything's obviously been fucked for a few weeks and specifically the last few days, I guess. But her, and I'm always for the universe works in specific ways. She didn't know we had a crypto thing on, and she just mentioned this, and I was like, this is all too good to ask. So 4 weeks ago, she had $1.1 million worth of Luna, and now it's valued at $310,000. Do you look at the potential future 6 months down the line, or do you go, fuck, it's reached its peak and now it's sort of come back down?
Well,
not saying to give her advice, just as an example.
Luna's was one of the most promising cryptocurrencies in the top 20, I would have said. It actually had really strong performance to the rest of the cryptocurrency group in this sort of, as Bitcoin's been going sideways and everything else been going down, Luna's actually been having a good run. Essentially, the Luna token serves as collateral, which means it provides like some security to the Luna stablecoin, which is called US Terra, I think. And it's this is really complicated. This is an algorithmic stablecoin, so there's not many of these. It's very new technology. Essentially, it increases and decreases the supply of this stablecoin to maintain its peg to the US dollar. Peg means it should always be $1 because it's pegged to it. It's like imagine, say here's a dollar and here's a stablecoin. Let's put them together. When a stablecoin loses its peg, it means it either goes above or below $1. So what happened to Luna's stablecoin yesterday, or
did it get hacked or anything like that, or is it?
I actually don't know the mechanical side of things that made it lose its peg, but the $1 coin went down to 60 cents.
Wow.
So if you were like cashing out to UST from Bitcoin to UST, and then you lose 40% of your investment in your stable coin.
Yeah.
Like, you're filthy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why the Luna token has sold off, is because their stable coin lost its peg. And whether that's a fuck up in their algorithmic code or not, I actually haven't done enough research to know that, but that's the reason why that one's tanked.
Wow.
And if I was her, I'd just be keeping an eye on the stable coin. You want it to get back to $1. As that gets back to $1, you know, you'd think that Luna would pick up with it. And if it struggles for, like, I don't know, more than a week to regain its peg, then I'd be looking to move some of that position off, not all of it.
Yeah,
Probably keep some.
That's pretty scary, just to think something you've got no control over, you couldn't see coming. If it was just a fuck up in the algorithm, has dropped 70% of your value.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and that's I guess that's a risk with this, with all of crypto. I'm not going to just say algorithmic stable coins or this type of crypto. Like, literally every crypto can have a risk of being, you know, rug pulled, like being completely gone by some kind of exploit or some bad bit of code.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have a chance to lose, you know, 50% in a day or more. So why I say, you know, make sure you understand what the token does before you invest in it. Like, that's super important because then you can identify your risks. And if you didn't know that Luna was the collateral for an algorithmic stablecoin, you didn't know that your risk was to the technology of an algorithmic stablecoin. You know, then.
So you sort of, you're a victim of your own.
Yeah.
Lack of research.
Yeah.
And just because it's like ripping and going up every week, that's why a lot of people jump on cryptos. Like,
So with your crypto trading, are you a day trader, or do you just look at like potential and have a set time point or a profit margin or whatever? Or a drop?
Look, I'm pretty much a long-term investor in crypto. I trade in and out of some positions, ones that, you know, it's more of a, like, I do have a bunch of stable coins sitting there for a crazy pullback, and I'm actually thinking of putting it back into Bitcoin today or tomorrow because it feels really cheap. Yeah. But that's just me, and that's not advice to anyone. I really don't want to.
It seems to be every time it crashes, it just recovers and then goes further.
Yeah.
It just seems that way.
I mean, it's been range bound between 30 and 60 for a couple of years now. It needs to break out of 60, and then who knows where it goes. But
60 US?
Yeah, 60,000 US, so, I mean, like, so long as it's in here, if you're buying at 30, you know, you can sell at 40, 50, 60 if it does those gyrations, and there's trading that could be done there.
Yeah.
But for me...
And really, you got to be at a decent amount to be making decent money. Like, there's no point putting $5,000 in.
Well, that's when people leverage, man. Like, you know, you've got $5,000, you can turn it into 100, and then I just, you know, like, if that's what you want to do, you want to live that life where every second you're checking your phone, like you said.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, that's so much stress to have on yourself. I'd prefer to...
That's why I stopped.
I prefer to have a third of my crypto not making any money, you know, just so I'm relaxed that if it does go down, I'm in a position to buy some.
For me, it was a situation where I felt like I had no control, so I just had to keep watching, and my only control was when I could pull it. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I can't live like that. I cannot live like that. It was so fucking hectic.
Yeah.
And having a newborn child, I was like, I can't be sitting there playing with my kid and that happening. So literally the next day I was like, bang, sold it, whatever profit we got. That was great. Awesome.
No, that's good.
Sick. Great way to start a family. Make 20K profit on Bitcoin.
And a great lesson for all of you listeners. Just do that.
Make a quick win.
To actually buy crypto though, I think you did that because it seems like it was the easiest way to actually get into it. I remember it's probably 4 years ago, 4.5 maybe. To buy the crypto, I had to put my money into Binance, I think. So transfer it into Binance.
I'll try and find it out.
And then buy it with Binance. And then if I wanted to buy a random coin, I had to buy Ethereum or Bitcoin first and then buy something else. So is there an easier way to do it now, or is it still the same? And I remember Spot was fucking exorbitant in their prices, and that's why I used Binance because the percentages were way lower.
I've always used...
It is listening. I haven't even typed in anything.
Suggested
crypto.com.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, that's a solid one. Crypto.com is supposed to be good.
But I haven't typed anything in.
Yeah.
That's
just
just
popped
come
up.
up.
I think they spend more money on ads than any company in the world.
Yeah.
They own like stadiums around the world and
So
sports teams.
That
and shit.
freaks me out.
Yeah. So sorry. So how do you buy a Bitcoin? I guess.
Well, sadly, like you need a unless you've got a mate who just wants to sell you some.
Yeah.
And then they can send it to your wallet. You usually do need to go to an exchange initially
Yeah.
to get your crypto. So, I mean, I've used Binance and Coinbase successfully in Australia, and from there, once you've purchased or you link a credit card or something like that,
Yeah.
you can then send it to a self-custody wallet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would recommend that if you wanted to just sit on Bitcoin forever and hold it for that 1%, buy yourself a Trezor or a Ledger
Yeah.
hardware wallet. They're called cold storage wallets. And once you get that, the box will explain how you set
Yeah.
it up, and then you can send your crypto from your exchange to that wallet.
Yeah.
And then put that in a safe place.
Plus 500 was the one I was
Oh,
using.
yeah.
Now, what's that? Because that's not owning at all.
Yeah, I think in plus 500, it's kind of like eToro, where you own like options in shares. You don't actually own the actual shares. Or
Yeah,
the
that's
actual
right. Yeah,
tokens.
that's exactly what it was. Yeah, you didn't own it, and you
Yeah.
owned a percentage, but
Yeah.
your percentage was worth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
look, those websites, I think what they allow you to do is own like parts of a share, like a fractional share in Amazon or something like that. And
Yep.
to do that, they offer these, almost tokenized shares.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, if you want to own shares in a company, I'd probably go through a different type of broker than those ones, because they're kind of complicated, I think, because you don't really know what you hold, and
No,
then
I had no-
tax wise, it's
I had-
kind of complicated.
Yeah. I was going to say the next bit with
Oh,
tax.
yeah.
Because you can. I bought a Ledger and a Trezor. I bought both because I was dumb. And you download it, and it gives you got to write down your code to get into it, so no one can hack it or whatever. You put your money in there. It is pretty straightforward. But then when I wanted to take my money back, at the time the tax laws were kind of murky. Now, does the government see where it's coming from and then tax you on that as a capital gains or capital loss, or?
If you're just moving it around, if you're just like sending it from one wallet to another, you're not having a capital gain.
Yeah.
Only
But
when
if you
you
turn it into cash, I mean.
it's actually when you trade it to any different currency. So like if you could go from Bitcoin to ETH, and then there's a taxable event there. What I'd recommend for that is, if you want to be compliant, and you should, because I think you'll get fucked eventually if you don't. Is there's a few apps out there that can pull all of your blockchain data and basically produce a tax return for you.
Yeah, right.
So one that I used was Coinly, spelt with a K, and that asked me to enter my crypto wallets into it, and then it can go into the open ledger that has all of the transactions in the world on it, and look for all ones that had my wallet in it.
Yeah.
Pull every transaction that I did in the last 12 months and put it into a format that is interpretable. And
Can you
will
just
me
tell the
what I'm-
tax department that crypto, that was only worth $1, that coin? Or do they have an attributed value?
It's actually kind of hard to put
A value?
to fuck with it. It's hard to change things.
Okay.
I know. Like, I've had some struggles because some of my transactions aren't, profit taking. They're just interacting with a game or interacting with a decentralized finance page or something like that. And I need to like explain, this is an investment, not a capital gains event, and blah 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 blah. But it's pretty hard to. So I mean, it gets you close, but maybe still worth getting an accountant to look over it once that's done.
I guess that's a new industry as well, having a crypto accountant.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And they exist. I'm pretty sure there's a couple in Perth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible how it's just all progressing and it's becoming a normal thing.
Before we, I want to hear about your brewery, but before we do that,
Other questions?
let's do some of the crowdfunding questions because we've pumped through it, man. And
Yeah.
Mate, it's been fucking.
we've been all over the shop, but it's
Well, it's flowed
we might have
like-
to get you back, Sim. So
It's been fucking.
because I want to talk about you investing into startups as well and fucking all that
this
sort of
has been
stuff.
fun.
So that'd be
I'll
cool.
come back for a chat.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So some of the
'Cause
questions.
I tried to get an investment when I started 2 businesses. I had FIFO Housemate. I still get fucking calls from that. So if anyone's listening and you see FIFO Housemate, I don't own it anymore. I sold it for a maximum value of $1,000 to a random on Gumtree. And then Flaunted, we we spent like fucking 20 odd grand on that, which was like almost like a Tinder for makeup artists. I thought it had a lot of potential, but we didn't really get any interest.
Yeah.
Well, any solid investment.
So the question 2 from Love of Perth. Lover of Perth. So where do we find about your credentials? Which is basically you're investing.
Okay. So what I'm invested in? Yeah, it's
as in like what gives you the
the right to invest.
Yeah.
My family has
And who are
loads of money, and then somebody needed to do it.
Yeah.
That's the honest answer, and I've spent the years dedicating my life to it and just learning.
Yeah.
I did a year of commerce. I didn't finish it. Like, you could choose to ignore everything I said today, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But do you have any mentors or are you a mentor to anyone in that regard?
I guess I've got a group that I chat to. Some of my friends, I'm maybe a mentor to them, but not officially. They never said, "Will you be my mentor?"
Yeah.
I've had mentors, but now less so. I probably look up to a few people on like YouTube that are like a few investors that I watch sort of them on podcasts and that kind of thing. But they're not like a sit-down mentor.
Yeah.
My sit-down mentors I don't talk to anymore.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who were they to start with? Were they just people that you respected in the industry?
Yeah.
People that you found through?
I had when I was running my like health food business, I had a guy over in Melbourne who actually used to run my dad's business, was the CEO of his company that moved over there. So he helped me, like with staff problems and finding locations and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
cool.
definitely would recommend having a mentor and finding that person and how that relationship usually goes is that you take them out for a coffee once every couple of months and can ask them questions. It's a great thing to do. I mean, I think podcasts are kind of like mentors anyway. Like you get to sit here and chat to all the different people. You've got heaps of mentors.
Yeah, we learn through our conversations, which is the best thing. And then when we're learning, hopefully that passes on those same lessons to the people listening.
Who are some of the YouTube guys, if you don't mind sharing your mentors?
Yeah,
like
totally.
If people want to listen.
Totally. So, so there's this YouTube channel called Real Vision. It's free to follow, and I think they've got a free crypto subscription as well. So they cover crypto and macroeconomics, and they just have all kinds of guests on there. It's headed up by this guy, Raul Pal.
What's his name? Raul
Pal.
Raul Pal.
Yeah. And he's like a sort of macro trading legend. And he's sort of put together this resource, and I think it's brilliant. It's really thorough, and the guests are really high quality, and you'll get all kinds of different investors coming on that. So that's probably the best. And I watch a lot of CNBC television on YouTube as well, which you'll get all of the classic investors, like the famous ones, Buffett and Paul Tudor Jones, and all these guys coming through for interviews.
Cool.
I also listen to the All In podcast, which I think is really cool. It's got a bunch of Silicon Valley guys that sit around and talk about current affairs and that kind of thing, and their weird ivory tower view of it all. But no, it's good. It's actually it's really insightful. So.
Maybe you could have a listen to the Sure Thing podcast with Wolfie.
Oh yeah, mate, it's really good though.
Yeah,
it's just a funny.
I'll suss it. Yeah,
mate, he's one of the best stand-up comics.
It's great niche because it's investing, but with comedy. Yeah. It's just like, it kills it. Very funny one. Want to invest in Hamdog? That's great.
Have you ever heard about Hamdog?
No, I haven't.
Oh, fuck.
Well, I can't remember what episode that is, but go back and listen to
I will show you after this
story about Hamdog investing that.
Yeah, for the listeners though, Grant Mushet episode, the second most recent one, where he put all his money in Hamdog and didn't even know what it was.
Another one is another funny one. There's no answer required, but Chris White, good Hard Yarns podcast of Time to Better podcast guest. No, it's perfect timing. So this one's a good one. Quantum computers versus crypto wallets. I don't know what that means.
We started talking about the cold wallets before.
Oh yeah, so the theory is there, like there's this cryptographical element to crypto that makes it, hard to break or hard to crack.
Yeah.
And there's this theory that quantum computers, when they kind of get to, proper scale, they exist already.
Yeah.
But they're not being used to try and crack cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Could maybe render it, useless. It might lose its cryptographical...
Because it can break into it and hack into it.
Cryptography could be hacked essentially by So that's one of the existential threats to crypto. It's true. It is a threat. I can't really speak more than that.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Because quantum computers,
happened
they can do heaps more in the same amount of time than a normal computer. Do you know much about it?
I have a mate that works with quantum computers. Maybe you should get him on the pod.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He's a
That'd
really
be awesome.
interesting dude.
Because, I mean, I remember learning about it and I was like, what the fuck? It was something about almost three-dimensional instead of ones and zeros. Fuck, we'll have to, we'll get an expert on. Is that along the right path? I don't even know.
I don't, all I'll say is watch this TV show called Devs. It's a brilliant drama, but it's about like this kind of Google type company, and they have a big quantum computing machine, and the machine is so beautiful. It's all copper and it looks nothing like a computer. Like they're weird. I don't know. I don't know anything about quantum, to be honest.
So it could be a cultural art, an NFT computer. And the last thing was, you've got a brewery. Is this a passion project, or were you just like, fuck it, I've got some crypto dollars to spend?
And do you want to be just another one of the breweries that invests in the Hard Yarns podcast?
And we had Atomic sponsor actually.
Oh, did
our Patreon launch. They gave us 20 cartons, which was
sick.
Which is sick. Yeah, really cool.
And then and sort of aligned with Bevy Brewing Company at the moment with Camfield and some events.
Yeah, live shows before the footy. But so how did you get into getting a brewery? Were you an investor?
Yeah.
Or did you start from scratch with that one?
Well, look, I'm an investor in a couple of breweries. So one in Melbourne called The Mill, and you can actually get that here in Perth as this distributor. It's in like 20 shops around town, but usually the craft beery places. My mate was just like a home brewer, and he made amazing beer. and he's like went around to all his mates, and everyone chucked in like 5 or 10 grand. So I think there's 7 or 8 of us that got involved. And then we got this old mechanics workshop in Collingwood and converted it, painted it all, built all the furniture.
Awesome. Yeah,
sick.
So it's like a little brew pub, and that grew to now it's selling in WA. So that's about 8 years old and makes amazing beer. Like,
is that part of The Mill, or is that a different one?
That's The Mill. Yeah. And then we just recently invested in this company called Froth here in WA.
Yeah, Froth.
Sick.
That's our mates.
Pete
up in
Exmouth.
I'm flying up there for a gig next week on Wednesday with Wolfie, the guy from Sure Thing.
Oh, there you go.
Potty. Yeah, so Pete Firth.
I'm a part owner in that now. So
Fuck yeah.
Well, invest in the Hard Yarns podcast.
Well, Pete said he will give us a keg if we get a keginator for the next one.
Yeah,
a kegerator.
Kegerator.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I used to own.
There you go. You're in the potty without even knowing it.
Because you've got 2 venues now, hey? Or is it the second venue open?
We're opening
Not yet.
Bunbury, which was at like our family owned that pub. It was the old Reef Hotel, and we just were like, there's no breweries in Bunbury. Do you guys want to come down and do it there? So we've got a few more in the.
What a small
plans
world.
My brother lives in Bunbury.
Yeah.
I'll tell
and
him to frequent it.
Pete's a greenie as well, so he's at ESG.
Yeah,
he cares about the environment
totally.
a lot.
Absolutely.
Pete's a legend.
What a great fucking Pete was on our unregistered potty.
He's one of our podcasts that never made it to air.
Yeah.
There's a live one after the drinks, me, Squirrely, Delby, and Max Shane. And a few randoms in the crowd and friends or whatever, and it got loose. Never made it to the air.
Actually, we can hold it as blackmail. We can invest or not. No, Pete was actually pretty good on there.
Yeah, he was great. It's Max Shane who.
That's what a spit out. So you're in Froth as well. Cool. Any others?
No, not at this stage.
Yeah.
But I mean, Froth's gonna grow.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a few country towns around WA. So if you're on a little road trip and there's a Froth in that town, go check it out, because they're very fun venues. If you've never been to the Exmouth one, they make you feel very welcome when you come in. It's a good vibe.
Yeah, I love it.
And if you are in Exmouth, I'll be gigging there next Wednesday with Wolfie, and I think Monday the 11th of July I'm going to go out with Buddha. So
sick.
Yeah, if you're in Exie, pop in, support Froth and support Delbs. Because I got to cover my plane ticket.
Is there anything you want to plug? Because we do have to finish up. But anything you want to plug?
No. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Thanks for having me on.
Mate, awesome, man.
I'm
Cheers.
So stoked with that episode.
Yeah, it's sick.
It's fucking awesome. I got nothing to plug.
Thanks, mentor.
Cheers.
See you.
Thanks, guys.